I have a really great time talking to people who don't know a lot about filmmaking or the time commitment it takes to actually make a short film. As I look back on the Purch and as I put together this behind the scenes video, I tallied up to 46 hours of actual work for just a 2-minute film. A 2-minute film, 46 hours. I still think that's absolutely crazy. But the breakdown is this. We have 4 hours in pre-production, 10 hours of production, and around 32 hours of editing, special effects, audio work. We're gonna get into all of that jazz in this video. But before we do, we have hit 1,000 subscribers, so I'm now a novice YouTube channel, so don't be shy to subscribe, and if you'd like to join the blog, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when the next video comes out, and let's get into this behind the scenes video of the Purch. So here's the table of contents for you all so you can follow along, but we're going to start with some good old pre-production and just how this film started. If you're on the mailing list, I touched on this earlier this week, but I just want to start with saying that holidays are one of the best ways to get yourself out of a creative rut and provide a deadline for your film. Just a couple weeks ago, the reason why we made the Purch was Halloween, and right when October started, I knew I wanted to make a Halloween short film. So immediately I had to drive, I just completely missed my finger there. I had to drive to make a short film, and I also had a deadline to keep me honest. So how did the Purch start? Well, I originally wrote a script earlier in the week, this one right here actually. By the time I finished it and I was really happy with it, it was already October 24th. As you can see, this is around 10 pages, so it was a little too complicated. There's too many moving parts, too many characters, and I really didn't think that I would give it a good go or do a really good job in the limited amount of time that we had left, which was only 7 days. So I decided to put that on the back burner and opt to do something more doable. Introducing the micro horror short film. Now, what's great about the micro horror short film is that one, it's super short. So it could be a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, anything you want. And what it really comes down to, what the real core and the essence of a micro horror is just suspense building and a scare. There really is no story, there's no plot, because you just don't have any time. My friend Trevor, who was the director and writer on this project, wrote a 1-page script about a young boy investigating the sounds on his roof, and boom, just like that, we're in business. Next up is location, and location is always a big problem for a lot of productions, and the perfect location is really hard to find. Luckily, we were shooting at Trevor's family home and we had a great setup. We were able to shoot in one of the bedrooms and change up all the furniture any which way we needed it. So that was great to have that luxury and to really create our scene. Speaking about creating our scene, we need to talk about set deck or set decorations. We emptied the bedroom except for the bed and a nightstand, and we actually moved the bed from the center of the room into the corner of the room, and that was mostly just to create a lot more space for us to operate. Since we only decorated that corner of the room, we actually staged all of the shooting to point in that direction of the room, so we never had to decorate anywhere else. So everything else was just bare white walls since we only were shooting that direction. So by being able to move the furniture around, we created an environment to be more successful. So let's continue this set deck talk with props. This story is about a young boy who's really into trains, and we needed to show that visually. So I found that train drawing in my garage and put that above the bed. Trevor and I also went to Target. We picked up a couple train toys. We went on Let Go and picked up some older tracks and Thomas the Train sets, and also a kid's conductor's hat. So really, you don't really have to buy everything at these retail stores, Target, Walmart. Also go on Let Go to see what people are giving away, because it was a lot cheaper on Let Go. I mean, we paid like $20 for one train, the big train at Target, and then $5 for like everything else. We did, however, pick up the bed sheets. I thought that was pretty key for showing the youth of our character, since our actual actor was older than what we wanted him to be in the script. So the pajamas, which we also bought, and the bed sheets were there to kind of youngify him, if that's even a word. but you don't need to buy absolutely everything. One shot, and it's actually a cutaway in the film, the very first shot is a bunch of drawings on a corkboard just to give the scene a little bit of life, a little bit of humanity, like people actually live in the space that we're shooting. And all of those drawings, we just did them ourselves. I mean, it doesn't really look like we paid for them, otherwise that would be complete waste of money. But it was actually a really fun experience. So the whole crew got together and we just drew some pictures with some crayons. It actually wasn't a big deal that we had to make it look like a kid drew it because we were all awful anyway. And with that, that wraps up our location and set decoration. So let's get straight into the production, and probably what most of you are here for, a lighting and cinematography breakdown of the entire film. The two main goals when shooting this film was, one, to have a lighting setup that never changed. That way we'd never have to relight. We wanted to film this in one day as fast as possible. The second goal has to do with camera work, and really how I wanted to show the emotion of the scene through the camera work. And the idea behind that is I wanted to start the short with a very stable camera on a tripod and just giving some smooth movement. And that's when our character's in the bed. Once he gets out of the bed and starts investigating the noise and things start becoming more creepy, the suspense starts building up, we then switch to handheld, and we keep that handheld vibe throughout the rest of the short film as the scene gets more chaotic. Now let's take a deeper look at the lighting design. Our main stroke of light is the key light. It was a 2K LED Lupo with a full CTB. And we just shot that through the window and it casted a wonderful Venetian blind style shadow on the wall. And it made that white wall way more interesting. White wall way, alliteration. And we even make it a little more interesting, but I'm gonna get to how we do that later. The second stroke of light is a warm light just outside of the door in the hallway. It was an Aperture LS1 bicolor. We put that to 3200 to contrast our very blue key light, shot it straight up at the ceiling to give more of a soft light, but also a simulated hall light as it would if it was a practical. And then we would control that light using the door of the room, and we just barely cracked the door so that there's just a streak of warm light entering our scene. At this point, we're starting to look pretty good and the scene and the lighting are coming together, but overall, it was a little too dark. So I decided to bring a fill light into the room, just a daylight balanced Aperture LS1 once again, and just shoot it at the ceiling, just bringing the exposure levels up a little bit. A good rule to go by if you're feeling like your image is too dark is that it's always easier to darken your image in post rather than make it brighter. So go ahead and lean towards the brighter side when you're shooting night scenes or even dark contrasty scenes because it's easier to make it darker in post. So that was all of our main lights, but there's actually one more light impacting the scene, and it happens to be our practical, the flashlight in the scene itself. And the flashlight was originally a daylight balanced colored light, but I wanted it to be more tungsten, warmer, kind of like the hall light just outside of the room. So we actually cut a straw gel and placed it within the flashlight itself to warm it up. Props for Tony for cutting it out with his little pocket knife and making it look super good. So our last touch to the look of this film, just a little bit of sprinkles on top of the cupcake, is the simulated rain. And the way we did that is we just took a hose and clamped it to a C-stand. So the nose actually had a nozzle on it that would give us different spray patterns. So we put on more of a misty spray pattern, really turned up the water and just completely blasted that window. And it came out great. The water actually looks really nice. It looks realistic. We had some problems with the water coming down too hard on one side and not enough on the other, but we eventually leveled it out and it really creates a great effect with the shadows on the wall with those slats from the blinds. Them together, it really just makes a great look for our film. So I know what you're thinking. If you've been around the channel for a little bit, you know that I've done at least 2 videos on fog and how fog can help drastically make your image better, especially when you use flashlights. I've even brought in fog on videos that weren't even about fog because I like it. I like it a lot. So why the heck did I not use fog in this film? It's a horror. Fog and horror are like peas and carrots, according to Forrest. And we're using a flashlight. So why not? Well, there's actually a really simple answer to this, and it's fire alarms. I fully intended to have fog in this scene. In fact, we brought a fog machine and we fogged up the place. But we also tripped the fire alarms, which you would think I would think about beforehand because I've done this a lot of times. But this is actually only the second time I've tripped an alarm. The first time was at my own house, so, you know, we can just like throw that one out of the memory bank. But this is the first time that it's actually been on a set. And my gosh, it was awful. The fire alarms went off for around 20 minutes. We couldn't even unplug the fire alarm because they had 15-foot ceilings. So we were just in it, losing our hearing, just constant. So after 20 minutes, we were able to reset the whole system and turn it off. And it only took that one time. We decided to totally X out fog out of the scene because we didn't want that to happen again. The only silver lining I can think from this is that it actually happened during our first shot. So at least we didn't trip the alarm halfway through the film, and we'd have half the film with fog and half of it without. So at least it looks consistent, and that's why we didn't use fog on this film. So now we're getting near the end of the filmmaking process, post-production. Well, not really. It's not really the end. Most of the time, post-production takes a lot longer than the production side would have actually took to actually shoot the thing. So we're not really close to being done at this point. We're gonna kick it off with audio. Audio is easily 50% of the viewing experience with any film. And with this film particularly, I would argue that it's up to 80%, just because we heavily rely on audio to tell this story. And if you took the sound out, you probably would have no idea what is going on. So you should always take some sort of scratch audio, even if you're going to Foley or dub the sound later. It's always great to know what it really sounded like in the environment so you can best replicate it or produce something that you know is better than what happened live on set. For this short, we knew that we were going to Foley everything, so we just used a scratch mic on the camera. And since we Foleyed everything, that means none of the sounds were actually happening live on set. They're all fake. Now, obviously, the rain noises and the footsteps on the ceiling are fairly obvious that we probably didn't do that there, and that was all post-production. But even the rustling of the bed sheets, getting out of bed, the footsteps, and even the breathing was all Foleyed after the fact. Now, even though we were seeing Jarek in the actual scene acting on screen, all the sounds recorded was me. I was getting in, getting out of a beanbag, walking around Trevor's apartment, and breathing in a microphone to recreate all of those sounds. Now, there's a lot more we can talk about with sound design, but for the fact of time, I don't want this video to be incredibly long. We're going to move on to editing. And for editing, there wasn't anything particularly amazing that we did. We just got a good, solid edit of the short with the pacing that we felt was suspenseful, and then we moved on. What really took the most time was the special effects, the lens flare, and of course, the Purch. That's what we're calling the monster. I mean, we named the movie The Purch, so the monster's name's The Purch, right? I think so. All of the lens flares we did in post, mostly because we weren't using fog, so we didn't have that beautiful beam of light, and the light output of the flashlight wasn't incredibly hard, so we didn't get a whole lot of natural lens flares. Now let's move on to the Purch, the main act, the star of the show, the teddy bear killer. That's what I like to call it because that's what it kind of looked like in the window, to me at least. But I know that I said we shot this all with one lighting scheme, and although that's kind of true, we did do one separate lighting scheme, and that was really just to light a green screen. So we shot our monster, or the Purch, on a green screen. And what the Purch really is a fur reel. It's a children's toy. It was originally pink. It could like chatter its teeth and move around a little bit.
That would definitely be scary.
Got it at Target for way too much money. But originally we wanted some type of like goblin or ghoul or something like that. And being around Halloween time, we hit up all the Halloween stores and there wasn't really something we were looking for there. So at Target, while we're picking up all of the other props, Trevor found that and he was convinced that he could work with it and do some special effects to make it convincing. So the first thing that we did was just absolutely douse the thing in fake blood, and that's why it looks all wet and nasty. The eyes were all shaped layers with animation, and the teeth was just a photo we found on Google that emerged with our Purch green screen layer. So with everything said and done on this film, how do I feel about it? Well, it was an absolute blast to make. Getting back on set, getting with my friends who are also talented filmmakers, Tony who gaffed for me, Matt who was on camera, and Mitch who recorded all the BTS you see in this video. Every cutaway was recorded by him, so a big thanks to him for being the cameraman behind the scenes, but as well as helping out a lot during the actual production. And of course, my buddy Trevor, who directed and wrote this film and also edited it. He did a lot, huh? He did a lot. What did I do? What did I do? I only shot it. Well, I was kind of like supervisor to the edit. I was just kind of like sitting next to him, watching him edit. Hey, I lost hours of sleep, so I'm going to give myself just a little bit of credit there. But more importantly, it was great to see everyone, great to have everyone back on set, working, being creative, and it really was a great icebreaker to the other projects I have planned for the future. Like I mentioned before, I have this script on the back burner, and I'm hoping to get this one up and running very soon for the channel, so that's really exciting. And then overall, with the time we had, just 7 days, with work and all that stuff really crowding the schedule, it came out really great and it was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to, like the video. If you have any comments or suggestions, go ahead and throw them in the comment section below. I'll respond to all of them, and it's always great to get your feedback, as well as if you have a good question, it's going to turn into a video. I mean, it's just going to happen. That's what happens here at the Filmmakers blog. If you want some free filmmaking tools, it's in the description below, like a free shot list, lighting diagram, and a lighting ebook. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next video, even though you already know it's every Friday.